financial survival network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. For a free financial survival toolkit and newsletter, sign up at KerryLutz.com, KerryLutz.com.
1490 WGCH. This is Kerry Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm here with Ron Hera, live at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference 2012. Ron, what are you seeing on the floor here with these companies?
Hi, Kerry. Nice to see you. Well, there's a lot of companies here and a lot of hype, a lot of companies that are looking for resources or that have early-stage discoveries.
How many of these companies in 5 years are going to be back at this conference?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I'd say probably half of them won't exist anymore.
So you're optimistic then?
Well, you know, when you say what's a quality company, I think, I filter the companies down to about, 5% of them that I think are real good value investments.
And that's a great point that you raise. What makes them a value investment?
Well, generally they have to have a resource. They've got to have people that have a track record. I look for specifically production track companies that are going to be successful as a business. So a lot of the activity around the show is really speculating on discoveries, especially exploration for precious metals like gold and so forth.
Now, it seems to me we're approaching a new phase in what I would call the gold rush. This could be the gold rush of 2012. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts about that are that the companies that you want to invest in are companies that have a resource, that have higher grades, that are near infrastructure. In other words, you want to err towards the highest quality companies. And the reason is that a lot of these discoveries that are coming out now are lower grade, they're further from infrastructure. It'll be years before they develop any mines. They're not going to throw off any cash. They're going to have to go back to the market and raise money. And you're going to get diluted as a shareholder.
So the question is, those who've got a practical project that with a reasonable amount of capital can be developed versus those who have uneconomical deposits who really don't have much of a shot at ever going to production then?
Well, that's exactly right. So I focus specifically on production track companies. So I do own some exploration companies and some what I call pre-production companies where they have a discovery or a resource and they will eventually build a mine. So I'm looking for companies that are going to actually produce the resource.
Okay, and if you could just share with us, tell us like the three companies that you're most excited about here on the floor.
Well, there's a lot of good companies here. I personally am favoring Uranium Energy right now. That's a company with a huge growth story, a project pipeline. The stock is a $3 stock on the NYSE. It's a company that when their stock was basically $2, wasn't even in production yet. Now they're in production. They got $7 million worth of uranium sitting in a warehouse. They've got a second mine coming online. They just bought a new property in South America. It's a great growth story. It's a well-run company.
Okay, any others you can share with us?
I think there's some bargain basement stocks right now that are really near-term producers that basically have a bankable resource that are going to be in production. I like Global Minerals, for example. It's a little out of the way. It's in Slovakia, but they definitely have the resources. They have the grades. And it's basically, there's a Canadian company that owns quite a lot of it that's going to be the former CEO of Esperanza Resources is now running Global Minerals, and the Sprott organization has invested heavily in that company.
Yeah, so if Sprott is there, it's probably going to pan out because they'll have staying power, be able to make it. So, Ron, anything else you want to tell us about the show?
Well, there's a lot of interesting speakers here, a lot of different opinions about the outlook for 2012 and basically where the economy is headed and what's going to happen with commodity prices. And I'm calling it the 2012 the end of cheap everything. 2012 is not the end of the world. And it's not the end of, we're not running out of any resources, we're not running out of oil, not running out of silver, we're just running out of cheap oil, we're running out of cheap, easy, high-grade silver deposits.
Well, if you saw my wife's credit card bills, you definitely know that we're close to running out of gold. But thanks for being with us here, Ron. Just tell us where we find you on the internet.
HERA Research.com. It's HERAResearch.com. Thanks for having me on.